エベラールジャパンプレゼンツタイムレスエレガンス。
We don't see ourselves as being in the education business.
Okay.
We see ourselves as being in the improving lives business.
今日も時代を超えて支持されるリーダーたちのダンディズムに迫ります。
はい、今回のですねタイムレスエレガンスのテーマは英語でございます。昨今やっぱりグローバル化している中でですね、英語は必須になってきているんですけど、まだまだ日本人はですね英語のレベルが低いというふうには言われております。いろんな理由があるんですけど、私が見た統計によるとですね、なんと世界のですねこれスウェーデンの EF 英語能力指数によるとですね、世界112カ国中のですねなんと78位なんですね。またアジアでですねこれトフルのテスト結果なんですが、アジアの29カ国中26位と、ちょっと恥ずかしいレベルになってるんですが、いろんな理由があります。英語教育はですね時間が少ないとか、科目として捉えてるからなかなか、英語をコミュニケーションツールとして使えないとかいろいろあります。今日は、その中でですね、素晴らしい方をゲストに迎えております。まずご紹介するのはですね TutorABC という会社なんですけど、そこの共同会長をやられております、ロドニー・マイル氏さんと、それからサム・ヤンさんですね。今日はよろしくお願いいたします。First, I would like to ask you about TutorABC.
Yes, well, TutorABC is the world's number one platform for learning English and Chinese. We've been around for over 20 years, and we have very proudly served over 100 million students in 100 different countries with 30,000 teachers from all around the world. And essentially what we do is we teach English and Chinese online really well, whether it's for school, for work, for exams, or for personal travel. We're really good at helping to improve people's lives through English language and through Chinese.
日本にもですね、英会話いわゆる英会話学校というのは多々ございます。かなりですね、広告なんかバンバン入ってくるんですけども、その辺の英会話、いわゆる日本には英会話学校、英会話のオンラインもありますけども、決定的に何が違うかというのをですね、この世界最大級のTutorABC にちょっと聞きたいと思います。We have several services that teach English in Japan, including online or offline. There's so many. But what do you make the difference of TutorABC from those English service, education service in Japan?
Right, I think one of the key things is that it has to be effective. You actually have to learn the language, and when you learn it, you have to enjoy it. And what makes us different are a few key areas. There are 10 key features that we have. I'll just highlight a few of them. But first and foremost is our teachers. We have the best teachers. They have a lot of experience. They have international qualifications. And they go through our own training program where we follow the Cambridge English teaching framework. The second thing beyond just teachers is our materials. We have the best curriculums, the best course content, and we partner with some of the world's most famous global education organizations in the world. So for example, we partner with Oxford, Cambridge, Barron's, Kaplan, as well as Disney English for our junior learners. Yeah. So beyond having the best teachers, having the best materials, we have the best technology platform, which enables our program to be personalized and customized. There is no one size fits all when it comes to language learning, and it must be tailor-made to their particular level, goals, and interests. And so we have a very sophisticated AI matching program that matches the right teachers with the right students, with the right materials and the right classmates. So I think that's very important. But ultimately, we have to give them very good service and guide them throughout their journey. You cannot learn a language overnight, so we have a lifelong learning model where we could service the students from age 5 all the way up to age 106 for our oldest student. So when we compare with other organizations, some of them may just focus on general conversation.
Yeah.
Some of them might just focus on an app which is just playing a game, which is good to start with, but you'll never be able to learn a language correctly and properly unless you speak to someone, unless you engage with them, unless you have the immersion and a qualified teacher. There are others that don't use native speaking teachers, and that makes the learning slower. It may make it incorrect, you know, whether it's the accent, the grammar, the vocabulary. So for us, we only use primarily native speaking teachers who are fully qualified. So when we do the comparison, it really boils down to these key factors. And something that we're very proud of at TutorABC are our ratings. So our students are giving us a student satisfaction rating of 96%, which is very high. And on Google, we're also rated 4.8.
4.8. Yes. Oh, that's quite high. Okay. So the best material, best teacher, and the best IT technology make you to become number one and only one, probably, in the world, in the industry.
Yes.
世界最大級のですね、TutorABC なんですけど、今お話ありましたように、5歳から106歳まで、障害学習が可能になりまして、でそこでケンブリッジとオックスフォードに独占契約してるんですね。でここだけしか使えないオックスフォードとケンブリッジの教材があって、さらに、資格者だけ、国際の言語を教える、資格を持っている先生、かつネイティブの先生だけが3万5千人ですね、世界中に常時おりまして、それを IT のテクノロジーでマッチングしたりとかですね、360日24時間どこでも受けれると、そういうサービスなんですね。で確かにこれどこにもないんですけども、but the price is also quite reasonable, right?
Yes, it's not only a question of price, because we're very effective and students enjoy it. Our goal is to help our students save time, and by saving time, they save money, and they get faster results with us.
まあもちろん価格も非常にリーズナブルですけども、まずはその結果ありということなんですね。Okay, from your perspective, I would ask you what do you think about the English level. I know it's very low of the Japanese people in general.
I think any language learning is very difficult, and I'm the classic example of that, as my language skills are very low in any foreign language. I just cannot get the pronunciation right. Fortunately, I'm a native English speaker, and therefore it is not so necessary for me, because the rest of the world in general learns English for business, and so I've always found it easy. Within the world in general, not just in business, but to understand what's happening in the world these days, you really need to follow the English language. It's the majority of influential magazines and influential reports as a standard are in English. That gives you the international perspective. When you see a German magazine or a French or Italian, Japanese, Korean, whatever, it's a much narrower focus normally, so you don't get that overall world understanding. I think that's the importance of English.
And most important thing is common language.
Yes, correct.
For the business world.
Yes, it is.
And why do you think Japanese English skill is so low in comparison with other countries? In Asia, for example, is ranking 26 out of 29, and it's 88 out of 111 in the world.
I think naturally, if I may say, the Japanese environment has been slightly more insular over the years, and therefore it has not become a more standard at a junior level to learn English. The nature, the way in which the economy has developed and the country has developed means that you have your own very integral Japanese culture and philosophy that you haven't followed the American movies, for example, as so many other countries have. So children at a younger level haven't seen or been exposed to the necessity of learning English. I think that's one major reason I would describe. And then, yes, I think the tonal difference between Japanese and English or Chinese and English makes it harder for people to understand easily. But essentially, people are not exposed to it when they're little babies and kids. That's what you need to be. To learn English or any language, I think, when you're in your teens or older, is harder.
Right. So what is the right age to start, do you think?
3 or 4. Watching
3 or 4.
movies, watching Disney on television, just picking up some of those elementary words.
Naturally.
Yes, naturally. Yeah.
Right, right.
Agree with that, Sam?
Yes, 100%. But having said that, I've been coming to Japan, for a number of years, and I actually have seen a slight improvement
Okay.
in the level of English language. There's obviously room for even more,
Right.
but I think as Japan and the world becomes more global and more interconnected,
Right.
and I think big events like the Rugby World Cup 4 years ago that happened in Japan, I think helped a lot. I think also hosting the Olympics, helped a lot. And I do see an improvement, but obviously, as Rodney said, I think the younger the better and the easier it is to learn a language.
Well, now finally, Japanese government decided to start English education from elementary school, which is a good sign. But it only started recent, like 2020, I think. And but I think the total hours of learning English is still not enough to catch up. I heard from some written saying that at least if from English speaker to learn Japanese, you need 2,200 hours at least to master a language. So the opposite, I think, the same.
Right. Sure.
And what I read is in Japanese education from junior high and high school, they only have 790 hours
Right.
only. And then regarding vocabulary, before 2020, that's government starting to introduce education in elementary school. Before that, I think the requirements is 2,900 vocabulary until graduation of high school, which is totally not enough to make you to communicate to others. And now, 2020, they start to increase the number to 4,000, 5,000, which is a good sign, but still not enough, I guess.
Right. I mean, I think you need at least that sort of number, to be honest.
Right.
That's only about 200 days of learning. I'm not sure I could learn Japanese in 200 days.
And just to add to that, learning a language is very hard. And one of the biggest challenges is forgetting.
Okay.
So as you learn something new, you very quickly forget it. So an underlying philosophy within our organization is, how do we minimize the forgetting? So yes, you could attend the class, but after the class, if you don't keep practicing, you will forget. And so we come at it from many different angles. Whether it's a one-on-one class, and then a day later do a one-on-4 class and interact with more classmates. And then a day later do a large lecture theater class where you're part of a group of maybe 20 or 30 students listening to a lecture on a topic. And then we would also look at some videos, some audios, looking and listening at music and the lyrics and the movies. And there are also other educational tools that we use, for example, flashcards, quizzes, tests, graded readers. So what we're trying to do is to come at it from many different angles. And later in the year, we'll also be launching an e-learning platform so that after the online classes, they can also study at home to reinforce what they learned through this e-learning platform, through videos, through audios, through questions, so that they could constantly look to improve their English language and, as we say, minimize the forgetting.
Yeah. So I think it's a process of learning language. It's not like a conversation. I think most of Japanese the English education service in Japan is simply conversation. People say English conversation school or class, like that. And without the foundation, I don't think you can really have a conversation.
Right.
Correct. And what we also see is that if you don't use it, you'll lose it. And so a number of our students on our platform, they had already studied abroad, they already lived abroad, but when they move back to Asia, when they come back to Japan, because we're not in an English-speaking environment, it's very easy for them to forget. So they need to constantly practice. So they'll attend our courses to keep practicing so that they don't forget.
Right.
So I think that's, as you said, continuous improvement.
Right.
And learning is important.
Right. Okay. Well, this article is going to go on the Keizai, which is an economic magazine for business readers, business leaders in the small company in the mid-size of corporations. And I think language is essential, but it's not only language, it's communication and also behavior. When you go to overseas, you talk about business to your business partner, and I think there's a lot more than language. And what do you think is most essential things for business leader if they wanted to start a global business, and what do they need on top of language?
I think one of the most important things is the ability to understand the customer or the other side and the other point of view, to be able to listen well, to ask the right questions, not to be always talking. You've got to be able to understand the other points of view.
Right.
And in a retail world, which I come from, an important philosophy, the customer is always right. Even when they're wrong, they're right. Because they are the customer and they're the ones who pay your salary.
Right.
And I was brought up in a retail environment, and yes, it's tough at times, but it teaches you that no matter how hard or aggressive the customer comes at you, if you smile, if you handle them tactfully, if you give them respect, you win the customer. And in fact, when you win the hard customer, you're doing more than that, because they go away and they talk to everybody about you and your company being good, and that's enormously important. One of the key attributes as far as I'm concerned.
I think in that aspect, I think Japanese have a good sense of hospitality and services.
Excellent.
Yeah.
There is nowhere better in the world.
Right.
Simple as that.
Right.
Yeah. You're doing it as a country, as a nationality, naturally.
Right.
The rest of the world, nearly universally, is reactive the other way. Is more aggressive and more defensive.
Right.
Whereas you are, very good approach.
So I think Japanese has taken advantage of they have it naturally already and try to export the service, the hospitality to global. I think that's also great potential for Japanese economy to bloom.
Right.
In the sense.
I think one of the key factors to me is in leadership is the ability to take decisions decisively, to actually lead the company. And I always use the words, get 8 out of 10 right and make sure that you don't get the 2 big ones wrong. In other words, try, experiment, be prepared to be adventurous, but cautious, but make things happen. That's what a leader has to do. He has to direct, lead and make things happen, not be passive in the background, waiting for other people to take decisions. Make them and get on with it. Decisive.
Yeah, I'll add to that. In terms of doing business globally, it's not just the language that's important, because we communicate in many other ways as well. And we've seen some studies say that people communicate, only 8% through the words that they use. And so as your level of English improves and as you go more global, we need to focus not just on the words being communicated, but also the body language, right? And how they're expressing themselves, what emotions are they giving, but also the tone that they're using, whether it's very soft or whether it's very loud and angry.
Right.
And we communicate in many different ways. And in business, it's not just the words we use or the language we use, but it's also the deeper understanding of the behavior, the manners, and understanding, the overall way that people communicate is important.
the very interesting point there, and I hadn't heard the 8% quote before, Sam, but I believe in it. But it reflects very much in today's world where people are trying to use video conferencing too much because you cannot communicate all those things on a video conference. You just can't. It needs face-to-face and personal contact and the reading of how people are reacting, the tone. So I think companies now that are going very much towards, let's say, video conference in as a normal approach, and they're in big danger of getting a lot of their philosophies wrong because of that. My view, very strongly. You need that human contact.
Well, the theme of this article is timeless elegance. Timeless elegance. So from your perspective, what is the value of timeless elegance? In your business life, in your career, everyone has something, the value, even time change, it could not change. I think we need to build something to leave to the next generation that as a leadership, this is timeless value. Even time change, this cannot be changed. So in that perspective, in your opinion,
calmness and coolness in how you project yourself and you take decisions. Always being respectful of the other party. Dressing appropriately doesn't necessarily mean suit and tie, but it does mean dressing appropriately.
Yeah.
It means respect to the situation and to the overall environment.
Yeah, and I'll add to something I actually learned from Rodney, in terms of things that are timeless, particularly in business, is to keep things simple.
Right. Okay.
And not to overcomplicate things, not to overthink things, and especially when we communicate, keep it as simple and understandable as possible. The other thing that Rodney loves to say is execution, all the way down to the end user, where we keep our promises. When we say we're going to do something, we actually do it, and we follow up. And I think these are sort of universal principles that follow the test of time. That could be timeless as well.
Well, thank you. It's very, very valuable comments. Well, why would you choose timeless elegance as a theme? Because of this watch brand, Eberhard, it's been 136 years already, and it's been selected by the Navy of Italian Navy's officers' official watches back in the 1930s. And officers at the time wear like nice suits, It's not different from the soldiers who on the battlefield. So it has to be elegant to fit the outfit of the officers. Now the time is different. Now they don't wear the military suits. Now they wear suits, but they're fighting in the business world. But still, there's a lot of leaders in European countries. They wear Eberhard because of this timeless elegance. So they feel like they're elegant officers. So that's why I started this series in this magazine. Also, we have a YouTube channel to bring a lot of guests to talk about what is your timeless elegance to represent the brand. And so what you wear today is a scuffle. This one is a diver's watch, 300 meter, can dive 300 meter. They have a helium escape valve on this 9 o'clock here. Yeah.
It's a beautiful watch.
Yeah, and this actually, they started build this watch in 1959. So it's been over 60 years already. And this one you have in Rodney on your wrist is an iconic collection called Chrono 4. Normally chronograph is invented by Eberhard in 1936 with the 2 in dial watch, the stopwatch. And then 3 in dial is also invented by Eberhard in 1939 during the Second War because of the military demands. And after Second War is over, there's no technology needs to develop further. But when people is going to have a 21st century, the owner of Eberhard thinks wait a minute, we human is really advanced. A watch is stopped developing. So if we developed 2 dial in dial and 3 in dial in the past, why not we build the 4 dial? So that's why they introduced one in 2001 as a collection called Chrono 4 and make it so successful.
I like the fact it's iconic, yes, definitely. That suits me.
Okay, so as of 1st of November, you're going to officially launch TutorABC in this market, right?
Yes, we're very excited. And obviously very excited to work with you and your team. And we think it's very important to really help people with their language learning needs. And something that we say within our organization quite a lot is we don't see ourselves as being in the education business.
Okay.
We don't see ourselves as being in the technology business or the edtech business. We see ourselves as being in the improving lives business through helping people learn language. And I think fundamentally, we could physically see people over time how if they could learn a language, they could do better at school. If they learn a language, they could do better in exams. If they learn a language, they could have an opportunity to study abroad.
Right.
And when you study abroad, you could have an amazing experience. It'll open up a lot of doors for you for future opportunities, or also for the adults to be able to get the job that they want, to be able to outperform, to be able to get higher pay, which is very important, and to be able to communicate with international colleagues, international suppliers, international customers, or purely for personal reasons.
Right.
As you travel the world, to be able to communicate more freely and to experience different cultures and to communicate with different people. And so we're very excited to sort of spend more time in helping the Japanese people improve their language skills for both English and Chinese. And as we said before, whether it's for school, for exams, for work, or for personal travel.
Very good. 11月1日からですね、このTutorABC世界最大級のオンライン言語学習プラットフォームがですね、日本にいよいよ上陸いたします。この度オフィス麦野がですね、このTutorABCと業務提携をいたしましてパートナーシップを結びまして、日本株式会社日本国際教育研究所という会社を作りましてですね、TutorABCを日本で運用を開始いたします。11月1日からですね、また QR コードで、フリーデモなんかもございますので、昨今ですね、インバウンドの方がですね、3000万人を超える勢いになっておりまして、いやおもなくグローバル化というのを日本はこれから迎えていきます。ビジネスパーソンに限らずですね、お子さんがいらっしゃる家庭でもですね、これから世界の大学にどんどんチャレンジしてほしいという思いで、日本全体のですね、英語力を底上げしたいと。このランキングのですね、111カ国中の78、アジアの29カ国中の26位をですね、少しでも底上げしていきたいということで、日本の言語学習、英語学習のですね、革命を多くしてまいりたいと思いますので、どうぞお楽しみにしてください。Thank you for your time today, and I think we have a very, very nice conversation, and we're looking forward to give the great quality of English education to Japanese market, and hopefully we can bring up the ranking altogether.
Aim for number one, always aim for number one from 26 in Asia.
29位中アジアのですね、ぜひナンバーワンを目指してやっていきたいということを思ってますので、これからもよろしくお願いいたします。ありがとうございました。
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.